One obvious one is policies allowing or encouraging employees to take work time to do specific things.
And how is that something you've implemented at your agency?
We're finishing it up right now, and the key thing is dealing with our. We're a union shop, so it's dealing with the union to make sure nothing changes the working conditions such that things have to be bargained. But pretty much, there's a lot more flexibility than you would think is in there.
There is. When we first did this analysis and kind of took this on the road, a lot of our members were like, oh, there's no way we could do this. But then we found organizations actually with heavily hourly or community populations doing this. So food manufacturers, others with employees in the plant that had tweaked their policy guidelines so that it was more flexible for employees, like extending gym hours, or in USAA's case, all their call center workers have a break, and twice a week they're allowed to tack on an additional 20 minutes for wellness-related activities. Yes?
We have we're a state-owned building, our headquarters, and we have a private restaurant that functions inside, but it's also under the auspices of the state Services for the Blind Agency, which allows them to be in there, and then there's a kickback of money that goes to the agency, the Services for the Blind. So it's a good partnership, but there's been ongoing complaints about the kind of food that's served in there. So we're not really changing policy per se, because they can sell whatever they want in there, although they need to keep us, the host, happy about that. So we are able to use an independent registered dietitian to do a whole analysis of what's going on in there and do some recommendations for menu changes, plus primarily an educational effort to the customers of the restaurant, teaching them how to make different kinds of choices and how to even ask for things that are different than are some menus, which they can, they just didn't know it. Which then, the goal here is to get the consumers to drive the change in the restaurant for the menu based on what they actually buy. And what was interesting is when we started that approach, when we had meetings with the restaurant owner, what I didn't know is the Services for the Blind, the state agency that oversees all this, they have their own registered dietitian. And they all came to the table with my dietitian, so it was just an interesting kind of a comparison between 2 points of view between these dietitians that, based on what we wanted to do, and they didn't want to act like they were sourpusses, so they had to kind of step forward and be happy about this. But it was just that we kind of basically shook up an institution that was there, and it's been there for years. But they were more than willing to try to make it happen because they get free rent from us.
I think that's an interesting point. So right now, in the economic downturn, the buyer actually has a little bit better hand than the buyer normally does. So if there are opportunities in your contracts to renegotiate, or if you're at a point where the contract's coming up and you threaten going out to do an RFP, that will get somebody's attention, because folks right now need cash flow. Cash flow is king over profit margin. So folks are going to be more willing to renegotiate to your terms. So if you've got cafeteria contracts, facilities contracts, etc., and you want them to make changes to support what you're doing, now's a good time to look into the contract terms and see if there's some sort of clause you can exercise to start renegotiations with them. I think your point is a good one. It actually takes us to page 35, which is at the programmatic level. What are some of the things that we need to do to design a wellness program that's going to help people change their behavior? And there's really sort of 5 things. So one is how we set any types of rewards and incentives we provide. 2, in the middle, which is the most important thing, is time barriers. In the HRA that we offer our members, we have a segment on asking employees what's getting in the way of them making behavior changes. Time is the number one thing, and in this survey it was borne out as well. 2-way communication, and what we mean by that is, wellness is essentially a consumer offering, and we need to think of it that way. So if we're not asking our customers what's working and what's not, we're not going to have we're not going to have truly a culture of health. 4th is, and probably no surprise here, is that programs need to set individual goals. If they're just about education or whatever, remember, it's not the provision of the information that matters. It's what you do with it. So helping translate that from the employee to, I need to lose 20 pounds because I'm overweight, my BMI is high, etc. Well, what is that? Okay. Well, how do I make that happen? That's the goals part. And then the support part. So for certain risk factors like smoking or whatever, support groups, or for those individuals that have conditions like diabetes, etc., support groups and other types of factors that help them manage their health really help out. So let's dive into the incentives piece. And this has always been a big source of contention in the membership, which is, we think that cash is king, but if we provide a big monetary incentive, we feel like we're locked into it, and what if people aren't really participating? We wasted our money. All fair questions. And what we've actually found is that if you're going to provide a monetary incentive, you really need to go big or don't do it. And the reason for that is on the left-hand side, which is the higher you set a premium discount or a cash award, the higher the incremental jump in behavior change. So let's say you have an incentive that's a $100 premium discount. You probably want to reconsider that, because you can probably do a series of raffles across the year that basically get you almost the same level of participation and behavior change for a lot less cost. Yes?
So does this factor in not just the initial change, but the sustained change?
Yes. So and that's a good point. So when we did this survey, we asked employees are you aware? Have you participated? Did you complete it? 6 months later and a year later, are you still doing that healthy behavior? So you're still smoke-free, or you're still exercising now 3 times a week. So yes. For those folks that have already participated in wellness programming before and have tasted an incentive, you can actually lower that amount a little bit. But if you're an agency or organization where you've had a low participation rate in the past, and you want to get a lot of people in the door, a big incentive is a way that you can do that. Obviously, there's a price tag there, but you're hoping that the return as far as initial participation and ongoing involvement in wellness is what's going to materialize. We think, though, that there's an opportunity, if you're not seeing returns with incentives that you're using, to either scale them back and get the same bang for a lower buck, or if you have a particular behavior you want to drive. Like, let's say you're running the biometric screenings and you've got, 10, 15% participation, and this is sort of like the year that you're promising stakeholders that, we're going to get this health data. That might be something you want to consider. You know what? I want to give everyone a $250 premium discount for completing their screenings in return. The other thing you can do an incentive is that over time, you can make it work harder. So what many successful organizations have done is said, we're going to use sort of a graduated approach where the first year we're going to ask you to complete your HRA screening. The second year, to get the same level of incentive, we're going to have you do that again, but then you've got to work with a health coach. The third year, we're going to make you do all of that again, plus show improvement on your health plan. So what you're doing is you're raising the intensity of involvement for the same level of incentive. So it's just another way of making your investment go a bit farther.